was gonna have my hair down for this video, but I realized no. Hey everybody, it's Kara. I keep wanting to go back in my old intro, but I realize I need to not do that because I'm changing up my channel. And this is video 2 of this new setup channel, and it's going to be something different, something I see a lot around there, because this type of YouTube video is very scarce within the YouTube community, and that is pagan and witchcraft book recommendations. Yes, I don't know if any of you guys know this or not, I am a pagan. I'm actually an eclectic Wiccan, and I wanted to fully embrace that on the internet. I mean, I know I'm probably gonna get hate for it, saying that I worship Satan and like sacrifice small kids to him, but I don't, and I know that I don't, and I know that hopefully there's at least one person watching here that that also follows as well. But if you are looking into this, you're wondering what the hell is Wicca, what the hell is paganism, all of that, I've got some book recommendations for you if you want to like figure it out. I am going to start off, I'm going to like divide this a little bit between Scott Cunningham and not Scott Cunningham, because if you are new into the witch and Wiccan and paganism world and don't know any books and you're like brand new, you've never heard of any of these authors, Scott Cunningham is one of the most popular Pagan authors, and the first book I'm going to recommend is Wicca, the Guide for the Solitary Practitioner. And honestly, this is probably one of Scott Cunningham's most popular books. As you can see at the top right here, they just had to go and sell it. Over 800,000 copies sold, and there is a reason for that. This book is kind of like a jack of all trades, master of none type of deal, and it covers so many different topics over Wicca, into things such as theory and then your practice, and it has a Book of Shadows if you are looking to start your own and have nowhere to go, which I'll be getting into more of that a little bit later. Another thing this book does great is helping those who are solitary and don't know how to practice solitary because you're like looking up stuff online and all you're finding is stuff for groups. This book helps many of us who are solitary, like myself, figure out and how to create a solitary tradition and practice, you know, alone, without anybody, because we're all lonely introverts. And with it being focused more on a solitary practice, it helps those of us, like myself, who are solitary, practice to the best of our abilities by ourselves. So I am able, like, because of this book, I was able to create a bunch of different ideas on how I could fully embrace my power and being a witch, and like just goes over so many topics such as deities, magic, tools, just different gestures you can do such as music and dance, ritual and preparation for those rituals, casting circles, altars, the days of power, which are also the Sabbats, the whole rebirth and incarnation things, initiation, how to design your own rituals and tools for that, plus the Standing Stones Book of Shadows, which is not Cunningham's main Book of Shadows, but it is a guide for how to do a solitary Book of Shadows. And honestly, it's a great read for a new and experienced witch or Wiccan, really. I love this book so much. Okay, so we're not done with Scott Cunningham because I now am going to be showing you Living Wicca by Scott Cunningham. And as you can tell by the similarities of these two books, just in their literal cover design and everything, this is a sequel of sorts to Wicca by Scott Cunningham, and it's Living Wicca, a further guide for the solitary practitioner. And this has gotta be his second most popular book. This is the first book that I actually read, surprisingly. But personally, I like Living Wicca more because this book, as you can see, is called Living for a reason. It delves into daily prayer, how to incorporate witchcraft into a busy everyday life, and just create a tradition that is specific to you and helps you. But this book, not gonna lie, geared a little bit more towards the Wiccan or witch who already kind of has a small basis, not much, a small basis in everything. And it goes into topics such as, like I said, creating your own tradition, figuring out your magical name, different deity concepts like UPG and SPG, like figuring out all of that, different tools that help you live out your life, symbols of the Wiccan faith, and even teaching your tradition and your faith to other people. This is another book that I would definitely agree with when you're reading Wicca. If you can possibly buy these together and binge them together, this is a great little, like, weekend read. I mean, even them together, they're not that thick of a book. Like, I swear, the first Throne of Glass book is probably thicker than this. I don't know. But it is such a great read from Scott Cunningham. You think I'm done swooning over Scott Cunningham, even though the man died well before I was born? Hell, I think he died before my sister was born, and my sister's like 24. Is Scott Cunningham's Book of Shadows, The Path of American Traditionalist. Now, this is a bit different than the other two books I showed you, as this book is a Book of Shadows Cunningham wrote to be published as a Book of Shadows, and I'm not sure, I can never find any clarification if this was like the Book of Shadows he used throughout his life, and then when he died he was like, you know what, publish that shit. But this is definitely geared more towards a coven based path, but if you are skilled enough within that, and especially using tools that you learned in the tools that he explains in Wicca and Living Wicca, to turn any coven-based ritual into a solitary ritual, it really helps a lot. And honestly, I've used a couple of the rituals in here, but there's also recipes, a herbal grimoire, weather divination, elemental, planetary, and color correspondences, the 4 basic forms of magic, different full moon rites that can be performed by yourself, and even Sabbath lore, which is also kind of stuff just taken straight from Wicca. But hey, it's a great resource if you have no clue what a Book of Shadows is, how to format it, what all you're supposed to put in it, what all that. This is a great resource to help you write your Book of Shadows. Because when I started, I had no clue what to put in my Book of Shadows. I was just saving stuff on spellsofmagic.com. Don't recommend using that site, because that site has like spells that like turn you into a vampire and shit. I'll go into that in a different video because I'm planning on doing a how I got into Wicca video. So I'll explain that website in a little bit. But like I just kept going through that website and bookmarking different spells and shit, and like leaving them, and that was like kind of like an online Book of Shadows. And then I realized how much more I enjoy my paper Book of Shadows. It's beautiful, it's on my bed, I sleep with it every night. Like I'm very bonded with my Book of Shadows, and I have to thank this book for helping me figure out what all goes into it and all of that. I'll also be putting another video up on the Book of Shadows itself, because that is a very big thing in the community. So yeah, Scott Cunningham's Book of Shadows. Hey, look, I'm finally done with Scott Cunningham. I'll be going on to another book that's kind of similar to Cunningham's Book of Shadows, but it's a little bit different because it's got more of like an informational thing like Wicca and Living Wicca, but it's portrayed in the way of a Book of Shadows, and that is The Witch's Journal by Celine Silverwind. And this book is great. It is something more geared towards the average witch, and not just a Wiccan or a pagan. So if you're a secular witch, this could really help. You could just like skip the whole section on deities and stuff like that, and you can really help. But this book is just how it's formatted and everything makes it a really fast and fun and easy read. But this book is based off of, again, Wiccan philosophy, and it is a practical guide to magic that uses familiar ingredients and everyday objects for spellcraft. It's easy to understand and simple to use. This is another tool that's great for a beginner. These books are really all great for beginners, and I love them. I love them, love them, love them. So this book, but how, again, like I said, the format of this book is my favorite. I love it. This part is so good because like I use it a lot because I actually have a decent amount of this, but this is like just a deity thing, and you can see this is for the Celtic deities. I like always to show that because it's got sections on my 2 deities. As you can see, it's got Lou and the Morrigan, my 2 deities. So I love just showing this off, but like here's the Greek and Roman deities, Hindu deities, and then we've got like blessing your altar, preparing for divination. Here's like the whole tarot explanations. It's a very colorful and fun book that is just a really great resource for really anybody. I mean, I've been practicing witchcraft and Wicca for, 7 years now, and I still go back to this book for information when I need it, and I'll just occasionally reread it because it's such a fun read. And yeah, I don't see this book around much, so I really, really recommend this book because it's a good source of information. Next up on my list is a little bit different. It's a book that I got from my library, and it doesn't really focus specifically on pagan and Wiccan stuff, but that is Global Ritualism, Myth and Magic Around the World by Denny Sargent. Sargent? I don't know how you say his name. The reason this book is different is this book helped me a lot with designing my rituals, because this book looks into lore of so many different cultures and their different ways of doing their rituals. So we go into Japanese culture, Chinese culture, we get into Wiccan and pagan stuff there. We get Christian, we have Christian stuff in here. We have so much different cultural stuff in here that helps you like truly realize how to create your own ritual. And I fucking love this book. I got it from the library. I guess I never returned it, but the library hasn't come for me, so, actually, no, I'm kidding. I came in and I was like, hey, how many times do people actually check out this book? And they're like, not that many. And I'm like, can I just buy it for like $5? And I'm like, sure. So I ended up actually buying this book from my library. This really helps you see a lot of the common and shared components of ritual around the world and everything. And it really just helped me, again, when I was writing my Book of Shadows and doing all of that, to create and help me create my own rituals and just make my life as a pagan so much easier. And just, it's a great read for anybody. I honestly don't even know if this book is still in print. I again got it from my library. I have never seen this book in the bookstore, but it's a beautiful read, and it's got some color inserts of like the some Kali stuff for in a Hindu temple, some Native American stuff, Balinese stuff, got some Korean like spirit worshipping stuff, Beijing, got the Ganges River, like that whole ritualistic thing. It's such a great read for anybody who's confused on how to start and design their own rituals. That is all I have for you today. Just a couple of those books. Most of them were Scott Cunningham. Did you know I have an addiction? And thank you guys for listening to that little spiel, and I hope maybe any good witchy reads, you take some of these books that I recommended into consideration, and maybe, I don't know, if you guys have any more like pagan, Wiccan, and witchcraft related videos, or really any book or really any video, because I just want to have fun before I die, so I'm doing this crap. If you have any other recommendations and stuff that you would like to give me, make sure you leave them down below, and I'll try to make them. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I guess I'll see you next time. Bye!